From the compilation album titled Masters of Jazz, paying honor to the music of Billy Strayhorn, and of course the wonderful collaborative duo between Billy Strayhorn and Duke Ellington. That is a rendition of the classic jazz hit Lush Life. And of course, you know, he makes reference to Paris. And so I, just wanted to set the stage for our conversation about Baldwin that we will hope to engage in just a few moments. But the idea of how difficult it was for so many of our creatives to feel like they were honored and appreciated at this era of history. And so many people, after experiencing the fame, the love, the relationships, the peace of mind that they were able to achieve in certain areas of Europe, that became the refuge for so many folks during that period, particularly in the 40s during the World War and what have you. And so that song is just, trying to put us in that space as we begin this week's Real Black Radio. How you be, Mike D?
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I missed last week. I don't know. It's like early dismissal. I got stuck in New York. I mean, the previous week I was in the Sunken Place Motel with the bad beds. And then I got a call last minute, like New Year's week or something. I got a call from Melvin Van Peebles to come visit him. Yeah. And, so I ran up and we just got there late, stayed over and didn't get back in time. So it's been it's 2 weeks since we've had a chance to.
Yeah. And I was going to say, well, last week the weather was so bad and I was broadcasting from home. So it was just a lot going on.
So it worked out the way it was supposed to anyway.
Indeed.
Okay, now it's raining.
Yeah. And warm and raining, which is always a weird thing anyway. But there's a lot happening just in our world. And, we just had the Golden Globes, of course.
I heard you talk about that.
And so this kind of the balance of seeing the folks dressed in black and, trying to represent a sense of inclusivity, but at the same time, a film like Girls Trip, which I know you didn't enjoy particularly well, but just for the position that it had in terms of sales and popularity overall, being iced out of the awards and not a whole lot of people of color actually walking away with statuettes last Sunday, Well,
I mean, everything's a reaction to one thing or another, but, if you don't play the game, you should not, you lose your right to complain. So, I had a big problem when folks were saying, hey, we didn't get nominated. It's like, well, wait, 2 years ago, you didn't get nominated. And you were talking about starting a revolution. You're going to make your own films and all this stuff. And it didn't happen. So, I think the power for any culture comes in your ability to say no, and social media is very reactionary compared to, so we all have power in a sense. Yeah. So my power was like, let me shut off this Facebook because it's taking up too much of my time. But I'm disappointed in social media too. I mean, not just Seal, the blackest of all black singers, coming out against Oprah. It's not his race. He really should just be quiet about that one.
Well, one of the things that, while we are in this moment of I guess, hyper black consciousness, which is not necessarily a bad thing,
of course,
any stretch of the imagination, we want to get to our first guest of today's segment because you and I both have had a chance to sit with and digest the amazing Oscar nominated documentary, I Am Not Your Negro, that speaks very distinctly about the teachings, the engagement of James Baldwin and the final writings that he had, trying to sort of coalesce his feelings around losing these prominent members of society, our political movements, and how, as a writer, as a teacher, to make sense of that. And we are honored to be joined now on the phone by his niece, Aisha Karefa-Smart, who also served as a producer of the film. So welcome to Word Radio, Aisha.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I have to correct one thing. I was not a producer on the film. The producer of the film was Raoul Peck's brother, Eber Peck.
Yes.
So it was a brother team, two amazing filmmakers that I absolutely loved, and that my mother, Gloria, who's the executor of the estate, loved before they even had a chance to make this film. They make beautiful films about Haiti. Interestingly enough, our president made some comments about Haiti recently.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to watch Raoul Peck's films. He shows the dignity of the Haitian people. He tells stories about the Haitian people and Haitian culture that are beautifully wrought and really exhibit the beauty of the country and the strength and the resilience of Haiti's people.
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. But it's not often that we get a chance to really, spend some time in conversation with people who are connected to such a rich cultural legacy. Here in Philadelphia, we had the benefit, Dr. Tony Montero convened a conference all around the teachings of your uncle and his significance in our society. And so that's really what we'd like to hear from you, what it means to be the bearer of a genetic legacy, but also the memories and what you understand of and know of and remember of your uncle's place in society and why this film has affected people the way it has.
Well, it's powerful. I mean, he had the voice of a prophet. In many ways, he wrote for this generation. There's something about his writings, his voice, his ability to analyze the ills and the shortcomings of our American culture and life, and he was able to speak truth to power to that, both as a writer and an orator and as a civil rights icon. But there's something about this generation that seems to receive him more than the generations before. Not quite sure. There's just something happening now. There's a culling. There's so many things are bearing fruit, and we're recognizing how far we have not come. So his voice just seems to speak to these times very specifically, and as they spoke to the times that he was writing about. It's a powerful legacy. I proudly wear the crown. He said that your crown has already been bought and paid for. All you have to do is wear it. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah, that's my addition to that, to what he told us. And so it's something that I proudly bear witness to. It's a legacy that I proudly bear witness to. And I call myself a witness because as a kid growing up around him, listening to his words, being influenced by him at a very young age, and having a very strongly formulated political consciousness at a young age was difficult. Because here I am in school with other kids, and I'm listening to my uncle and to Toni Morrison and to Maya Angelou and to Mary Baraka and all these people at my home, talk and discuss politics. And then I go to school and it's like, see Jane run. And I was already somewhere else, like at 12. And at 13, 14, 15, I was reading Angela Davis, Woman, Race, and Class.
Yes.
And it was difficult to fit in because my political consciousness, my racial consciousness, my sense of who I was as a Black African woman, was so formed at such a young age that it's kind of hard to fit in. So that's the powerful legacy that he left because that dialogue was always present, and the being an activist wasn't a choice. It was just something that I lived, that I breathed, that I carried with me. And so there was never a time where discussions about what was happening in the world to people all over the world was an aside. It was always front and center. And so that's what this movie does. It brings that conversation front and center. It's no longer a side conversation for people to be able to have during Black History Month.
Right.
It's a conversation. It puts the conversation about race, about what's happening in this country, about killings and what's happening with our youth front and center. And it forces people to take note and to recognize how far we still have to go.
Yeah. Now, well, Peace Queen, this is Mike. So once again, we're talking about I Am Not Your Negro. Now, this movie's been everywhere. It's an explosion of information, and it's just like the starting point for such a prolific life of art and achievement. Now, I understand Barry Jenkins is making a movie about one of your uncle's plays and things like that. So, but if you're not available Monday, January 15th at 9:00 to watch it on PBS, you can just dial it up on your smartphone. No excuse for dumb people. Netflix has it, everything. So before you got on, we were talking about your real power is the ability to say no. So just cutting through all the isms and Me Too's and all that stuff. When people feel like they have a lack of options, they sort of go for what's convenient or available. I mean, can you speak to that in relation to your uncle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because my uncle, one of the things that he did is he paved his own way. He didn't ask for a seat at the table. He didn't ask. He felt like we built the table. It was ours. You shouldn't be asking for a seat at it.
Right, right.
He didn't ask permission to write and to be acknowledged. He just did it. And so I am in agreement with that stance, is that stop begging people to accept you and stop asking to be invited to something that you might not even agree with when you sit down and participate.
Amen.
You might not even like the tools that the master's house, that were used to build the master's house. So you have to be careful about what you say you want to be included in. And so my thing is, for a year I was a co-host of Michelle McCare on Creatively Speaking, which is a platform for filmmakers of color, and young filmmakers of color. And every time the young filmmakers would come on and say, well, how do I get Hollywood to notice me, and how do I make my film more palatable? And I would say, you don't. You make films for your people, and make films based on what the stories you want to tell, and have them come over to you and say, we love your film, but don't do anything to change your film or to make it in a way that's going to be more palatable to Hollywood. I just think that we should make our own films and tell our own stories.
Yes. And I want to jump in also and get your thoughts about something that Dr. Montero and I talked a lot about in promoting the conference that he did around your uncle's writings and teachings, which was the idea that we need to make sure we elevate that your uncle was self-taught. He was not the chosen son of academia, that his scholarly approach to teaching us to love ourselves and acknowledge the conflict that often resides in Black excellence and trying to achieve that was something that was his personal pursuit, and how often we kind of gloss over that and just deal with the excellence of the writing, but not the path to get to the scholarship.
And I always speak to that. Whenever I'm invited to speak, I remind people that my uncle was an autodidact, that he was self-taught, that he studied, he read all the books in the County Cullen branch of the library, which is now the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in Harlem, right across the street from Harlem Hospital, 3 blocks away from where he grew up. Academia has been very much responsible for bringing his writings back into to the consciousness of young people, because they're studying him in school, but they need to be reminded that he didn't attend college. He didn't have the money to attend college. He had brothers and sisters that he was responsible for, and that he had to help my grandma going to college. And then after he reached a certain age and he realized that he couldn't be a free Black man in America and not be attacked and be the victim of acts of terrorism towards him because he was a Black man, he left.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm out. And he went to Europe and paved his own way. So that's a powerful story. People need to recognize that is somebody who was an out-of-the-box thinker, a free thinker. He's not a product of the Academy. So although the Academy celebrates him, they need to acknowledge that type of excellence can happen outside of the academy.
Yes.
And that you can be self-taught, and that you can be self-referential and pave a way for yourself on your own terms. He was very much a man who did things on his terms. He didn't bow, he didn't to anyone, and he wrote and he spoke and he bore witness to what was happening, and risked his life, as we now see through the movie.
Yeah.
In doing so. And it's a very important story for young people to be exposed to, because they realize that they have options. Going to school is university is a wonderful option, and it's something that is very important. But then you have James Baldwin and who he was and what he did. And for those who are out there who don't feel like certain options fit them, and he's a great example of what one can accomplish, and the level of excellence and the level of prestige that one can reach when one forges their own path.
Well, just one last thing. Now, one thing, after I saw I'm Not Your Negro, I became indoctrinated in the House of Baldwin, and we actually did a showcase tied into promoting it when it was in. Well, full disclosure, Bear lives in New Jersey. He produced two of my films. So,
nice.
So he's just, we're all family here. So
wonderful.
And Michelle, obviously, shout out to Michelle. So Small World. Yeah. So we have just a couple minutes left. Now, I'm Not Your Negro only focuses on his unpublished work dealing with his relationship to his friends in the civil rights movement. But I've seen some of his later works, like his National Press Conference speech and things like that. He still maintained a spirit, even though he was in a weakened state. And I know that he paid a cost coming back to America for sure. I mean, knowing him in his later years, how did he maintain that spark?
I just think it was part of his spirit and who he was. I mean, he just never let up, and always remained committed, even though his popularity began to wane and people began to criticize him, and people began to say he was no longer relevant. He still spoke out on behalf of black children and education. He has an essay called "The Talk to Teachers" that is very, very important. He talks about the importance of educating black children and that black children's self-esteem. He has an essay called "If Black English Isn't a Language, Tell Me What Is."
Can I just jump in there and let you know that was, shout out to Elizabeth Alexander, the former presidential poet laureate. She was the instructor for my freshman English seminar at Penn, and that was part of our course curriculum. So I had read The Fire Next Time, but getting to understand Baldwin as an essayist, it has been one of my greatest pleasures, and that one spoke to me directly.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody can get The Cross of Redemption, which was edited by Randall Keenan, and it is his uncollected essays that were published in different publications that are now in one collection. Amazing. And for all the Baldwinites out there, for all the Baldwin fans, that is essential Baldwin reading, The Cross of Redemption. And that essay is important to me because I grew up, being taught standard English, but I was also, grew up immersed in black life and spoke black English.
Yeah.
To have my uncle write an essay that says that language is a language, and it's something we created and that we should own and we shouldn't be ashamed of. It's very important. So he stayed committed to the end to advocating for black children, for black youth, for educating black children and black child self-esteem. He has a children's book coming out, so that's being reissued in August, Little Man, that was written by my little brother, P. John, and I wrote the afterword, my brother wrote the preface, and it's being re-released, and it's being considered by Entertainment Weekly. It is considered one of the most anticipated books of 2018. So he was a huge advocate for children, for education. He wrote Evidence of Things Not Seen, which was about the Atlanta child murders.
Yes.
So he continued. He didn't care understood. My uncle understood that one day you will be revered, and the next day you will be crucified. But you have to remain committed to your vision and to your work. So he didn't care. He didn't care if he was no longer the toast of, the literary world, or whether they were saying his popularity was failing. I'm not saying he didn't care on a personal level, but he didn't allow stop him from continuing to write and to be committed to uplifting Black people and speaking out on our behalf. He never grew weary of that, even though it did wear him down. He continued to speak, like you said, even though he was in a weakened state.
Well, your personal perspective, the way that you continue to uplift his life and legacy and his teachings in the work that you do is so essential to our cultural building blocks and some of the information that needs to be passed down through the generations. We are deeply thankful that you were able to make some time for us on the air today. And we hope that you will continue to stay in touch as the children's book is released, as there are other things that we as a community can support. Word Radio is committed to getting that information out to our listening audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, again, that was Aisha Karefa-Smart, the niece of James Baldwin. I Am Not Your Negro, the Academy Award nominated documentary, is going to be airing as a part of PBS's Independent Lens series on King Day this coming Monday, January 15th at 9 p.m. We highly encourage you, if you have not yet seen it, to view it. Baldwin's words are read by Samuel L. Jackson. That is a tongue-in-cheek favorite part of this of mine, because people know how irreverent he is, and him embodying some of that stewing rage that was so evident in Baldwin's work and necessary is an important piece. And our next guest, as we come back from our next break, is involved in a service that will also allow you to see the film. And so we're going to keep you invested and involved in how you have access to these wonderful creative pieces.
If you have a library card and a smartphone or computer, you can watch I'm Not Your Negro within 2 minutes of getting after you tune off here, you can watch the movie there. But as Chuck D says, in this era of smartphones, there's no excuse for dumb people. And let's get smart.
Nice. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come back and continue this week's edition of Real Black Radio. Stay tuned.
Listen to her.
From the Broadway cast recording of Once on This Island, that tune is titled "And the Gods Heard Her Prayer," or Rain. And of course, here in Greater Philadelphia, if you look out your window right about now, the fog has indeed rolled in, and the raindrops will be falling off and on for the better part of the day. So take due care if you are out on the roads and making your way around the area, because it is very difficult to see. Here from our studio windows, we're looking out over the I-95, of course, and they put up a new privacy wall. But even with that, it's just very, very foggy outside and warm, unseasonably warm. Of course, we're not going to get some of the heavier rain, snowfall that has been happening in other parts of the country, because we have this warm air mass over us right now. But that still means it's kind of treacherous going here in our area. So take due care on the roadways, but we're safe and relatively comfortable here in our Word Radio studios.
Yes, indeed.
Again, want to thank Aisha Karefa-Smart for joining us and talking about her illustrious uncle, James Baldwin, and the documentary I Am Not Your Negro, which is going to air Monday night.
Watch it, Steph.
9 p.m.
We are not your Negro.
Yes, I am not. Because in my brain I see the signs for I am a man.
They may just take that little piece of audio and just reappropriate it. In this digital age, you never know what's going to happen.
But in this digital age, there are good things that are happening too.
Absolutely, yes.
And especially for those people who are card-carrying patrons of the Free Library of Philadelphia.
Yes, brand new. Breaking news. On the air with us is a woman. Now, I'm just learning about this. Canopy, Kanopy, my favorite new website. All the streaming movies that you can imagine.
Yes, that are available to you with a free library.
You don't have to pay nobody no $9.95 a month, no $7.95 trials, any of that stuff. Just go to the library, get your card. That's your right, and hook up with Canopy. With us on the line is Olivia Humphrey, who's going to tell us all
via
about this
Skype.
service.
Good afternoon, Olivia, and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Hey, now it's an accent.
Yes, it is. It is not British. I'm often accused of being British. It is actually Australian.
Australian, yes. It's a different kind of twang. So
yes,
those of us with sensitive ears. So talk to us about this wonderful streaming service. You know, there's so many people who are trying to find ways to kind of cut their monthly costs and still have access to great culture. And your service is a wonderful thing to be accessed just by having a library card.
Yeah, it's really amazing and exciting. So Canopy is an on-demand film streaming platform that allows library members to experience what we think is the collection of the world's, I guess, best films. And so we have partnerships with libraries like the Free Library of Philadelphia, who offer Canopy to all of their members. And so anybody can go to canopy.com, Canopy with a K, select the Free Library of Philadelphia and open up a world of 30,000 films that are, some are award-winning classic films, documentaries, including I'm Not Your Negro, I just heard. Mm-hmm. And some are rare and hard to find, a lot of Sundance Festival film favorites, etc. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I have to thank you twice. One, for saving me so much money, because I was some of these movies, like these Criterion collections and California newsreels, they're almost impossible to get without having to spend money because there's no more video store. But you're like bringing like the best art house cinema right into your devices, basically.
And I was going to say, and I'm sitting here, Mike has the website open, and the films that are available are scrolling by, and these are just the ones that you all chose to have on the scroll for people to get an idea of some of the content that's available. You've got some great work here.
Yeah, thank you. It is. It's really exciting. And in Philadelphia, so the most popular films are Hunt for the Wilder People, My Brooklyn. We have a fabulous African-American collection. We have our library members in Philadelphia writing in saying it's just so important to me to see people who represent the way I look on film. We have a lot of foreign film that is Hunt for the Wilder People, I think, is one of the most viewed after I'm Not Your Negro. And so it's a very, very broad collection. We're trying to make these films accessible. We don't license blockbuster films. We're more interested in films that really connect with users. And a lot of our users write in and say, when I watch other streaming platforms, I feel like I'm eating junk food. And when I watch Canopy, my soul is enriched, or I feel I'm a better citizen. And that's what we're trying to do, make these sorts of films accessible.
Yeah, now this just didn't happen overnight. I was reading your bio. You started in Australia doing DVD distribution.
That's exactly right. 2 university libraries. I was curious why students or higher education students were watching more film outside of their educational world, but it was just books and journals that were on the curriculum in higher education, and video wasn't part of it. And it didn't make any sense to me, understanding that students respond so well to video. So I launched Canopy 10 years ago, back in the DVD days, and grew to what it is today, and really excited to be able to offer the platform to public libraries now as well.
And not to say giving away trade secrets, but if you might offer people in the listening audience an understanding of how this becomes profitable for you, because people want to be able to take advantage of this, and they want to see you succeed with providing this content in the way that you do. And it's almost like I'm a lipstick junkie, so when people discontinue colors that I love, I never want to see them go away. So embedded in this is a sense of entrepreneurialism that is altruistic, that we would love to see succeed. How did you develop the business model for this?
I'm glad you asked, and it's a very important point, because a lot of our members, obviously the films are free to them, but it's the libraries, the public libraries, that invest in the platform, just like they purchase books and DVDs. The public libraries invest in these films to offer their members. And Canopy has a policy of looking after the filmmakers just as much as we like to think we look after our public libraries and members. We give 50% of all of the revenues at least back to the filmmaking industry, to the content owners, so they can go and continue making more amazing films. And we like to think we're really playing a small and hopefully bigger every year, but important role in creating a sustainable economy for the filmmaking industry.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, you know, there are so many people who are trying to figure out how to navigate this digital space in a way that it is both helpful to the continuing development of arts and culture, and at the same time allows people to eat and allows a new kind of mentality, I suppose, to go forward in the way that we're exercising our entrepreneurial spirit. And so I think there's a lot for our listening audience to learn from the way that you've set up Canopy, the conscious decision about the content that you offer, and what you've just offered us in terms of the profit sharing that goes into the back end of this as well, for how we can build a better world for all of our creatives in society.
Well said. Thank you.
Well, you know, are there any specific instructions that you want to give our listening audience about how this works with Free Library of Philadelphia? I'm sure Mike will fill in the blanks also.
And other libraries all over the country. I first became acquainted through Charles Woods and I going to the New York Public Library, also the Brooklyn Public Library. So people beyond Philadelphia, if you have a library card, you can go to that website and see if your library is affiliated, correct?
That's actually right. Yeah, so if you go to canopy.com, as you said before, Canopy with a K, and click on Watch Now, you can type in and select your library. If your library is not a member, you can shoot them a note in expression of a desire to request Canopy to be made available. But we're in just about all of the major capital cities now, and thousands of more regional libraries as well. I'd also like to say that we're making a huge effort to license content that is very relevant to local communities. And I'm pleased to say that we have a new film launching next month called Quest, which you may have heard of. It's actually
it's closed last night in Philadelphia.
I was going to say.
It did.
Yes, and he's one of our Word Radio on-air personalities. So, you know, that really is a full circle piece.
Fantastic. Well, we'll have to reach out to him when we go live in Free Library of Philadelphia.
Yes.
But that's going live on Canopy towards the end of February. So I look forward to sharing that with your members.
Okay, fantastic. So please, even if you're not ready to do it, go to canopy.com and just scroll through the selections. If you go to ethnicity and identity, you'll see not only I'm Not Your Negro, but Through a Lens Darkly. We've had Thomas on the show. Color Adjustment, one of the best movies about Marlon Riggs. All of Marlon Riggs' films are on Canopy, and they're almost impossible to find anywhere else. I mean, I just love what you're doing, and I really appreciate you making the personal connection after seeing our podcast. So, you know, it's all love.
Well, thank you. And it's really wonderful to see these films getting watched, not just in America, but around the world. And I think these are really important films. I think a lot of have very important messages, and it's just great that everyone continues to expand their worldview by watching films from different filmmakers in different places, and continue just to understand and challenge the world around them more and more. Yeah,
good stuff. Tim Wise has some brand new documentaries on here, Negroes with Guns. I mean, just no reason not to know. It's right there.
These resources are right at our fingertips.
And you can go to the library. If you don't have a computer, you can go to the library and use their computer and watch these movies. But you're only limited to a certain number a month.
Yes, you are only limited to a certain number a month, and that number gets refreshed every month. Canopy is also available via downloadable iOS or Android apps, on Roku, on Apple TV. So you can pretty much watch Canopy where you'd watch any other streaming platform as well.
You're making me so happy right now, speaking about all the different ways that I can tie my technology into what is freely accessible to me because of my library card. And, you know, please continue to do the work that you do. And as more titles are released, as you do any kind of upgrades and what have you, please feel free to come back on the program with us and share with us the updates that are happening. We want to make sure that people are fully utilizing this service.
I would love to, and thank you for the invitation.
Okay, Olivia Humphrey.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back. Mike is going to give you the how-tos. We're going to break it down for people so that they can take notes.
How to do Canopy?
Yeah, I mean, and all the different ways that you've just described, because she gave us a lot about.
I want to talk about Prince. I got one like so far on my Instagram announcement. I spent so much time. I'm so creative this week, and I got one like. I got nobody. I got 3,000 fans, 3,000 followers, so to speak, and one like on my Prince Instagram. Come on.
People might, they're redoing these algorithms. People might not have seen it. I didn't see it. So I'm just saying. So we're going to take a quick break and come back and let Mike tell you all about Reelblack screening happening later this evening and the other good things that are going on in the world of film and television involving Black folks. Stay tuned. From the motion picture soundtrack of Sugar Hill, that is the group Freestyle Fellowship with a song titled Park Bench People.
TV show Sugar Hill?
No.
The movie?
Yes, the
Wesley
movie.
Snipes?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and everybody knows him as Eddie Kane.
Well, they snuck that one in, man. Big up the Freestyle Fellowship. What was it, like track 18 on the album?
I don't even remember what track number it was, but Freestyle Fellowship, for those of you who are unfamiliar, set a precedent. We talk about East Coast and West Coast hip hop, right? But they were so prolific with studying the improvisational skills that often, come through jazz and people's study of jazz and playing, but transferring it to hip hop in the way they deliver their lyrics, just really great. So Park Bench People was the slower version. Many people are more familiar with, I gotta be conscious. What is that song?
I mean, my connection for those who are on their smartphones or whatever, watching the video part of this is, or if you're home, you just Netflix and chilling. While still there, This Is the Life, Ava DuVernay's documentary about the Good Life Cafe, has a whole segment, good 10 minutes devoted to Freestyle Fellowship and their birth, and they were the most popular group to rise out of that core group of artists that Ava was a part of. So big ups to her, and big ups. Okay, well, I know you talked about it earlier. I'll give some play. Oprah definitely deserves some love this week.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know about the presidential campaign.
No, and most of us don't. And most of us don't necessarily want to see President Oprah.
No, she's too smart.
It's too much. She has too much ability to do too many other things to be limited by the office of the president. Okay, and I think that is. People talk about job description and public policy experience, and I'm not going to get into that. I think we are at a point of our evolution as a humanity, at least I'd like to believe this, where lived experience counts for a lot.
Right.
And the same way that we want to discount the brothers on the corner slinging whatever they're slinging, from some of that natural entrepreneurial spirit, people have been able to turn that into empires, billion-dollar empires in one way or another. And so whether or not we see Oprah as a diplomat, she learned diplomatic skills in interviewing people and talking about tough subjects and everything else. But I still don't necessarily want to see President Oprah.
Oh, of course. Well, I watched the speech. I was like, okay, well, Seal should definitely be quiet.
I haven't even seen his comments.
Seal, he basically was saying, like, he posted a picture of Harvey Weinstein, Oprah kissing Harvey Weinstein and saying, well, you are part of the problem because you supported this man's power or whatever. It's like, well, I don't know.
Lots of people did.
A lot of people.
He made a whole lot of freaking films.
A lot of people, yes. It's but the change is coming, or the change is already here. The game is over. But we have to. The movies, Black Panther has already sold more tickets than any Marvel opening day ever.
Yes.
So we're already.
I've now got to go back and watch Civil War, because people were like, if there's any sort of prelude that you might need before you jump into Wakanda in the feature film, for Black Panther.
I'm just in for a blackety black. I'm a ride that roller coaster.
And it is going. Listen, when I say, I don't know if you heard my interview with Christy Henderson from Color of Change.
That's the name of my new movie, by the way. Don't steal
Blackety Black.
Yep, there you go. So don't steal that.
But there are lots of plans. People are getting their custom made outfits, or they are ironing it. They're starching and pressing their dashikis.
Yeah. So
it's going to be blickety black all over opening weekend.
So what we're experiencing is change, and it could be the last. Now trust me, Don Lemon is correct. it doesn't take much to do the research
right.
on what this is about. This is these people, they would rather, with Curtis Mayfield, some people get ready, just listen to that song. That's where we're at now.
Yes, but we only got a few minutes left.
More specifically, tonight, Graffiti Bridge. Look at this beautiful piece of art that I made on my Instagram to announce that we're showing Graffiti Bridge. Nice purple
sky, yes.
Purple sunset. Watch Graffiti Bridge. Come see it. 2 likes.
I haven't seen it, Mike. I can honestly say that I didn't see it at all. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to add to your likes.
Then if we get more than 2 people, then that means we won. But I'm tired of giving away work for free. I spent a lot of energy and effort sliding that thing.
And colorizing that
posting
beautiful
it,
purple sky.
using up my minutes to get this beautiful piece of art on Instagram, and no love whatsoever.
So give all the specs.
Okay, so if you want to come tonight, 7:15, 7:30, we're going to show Graffiti Bridge off of the Blu-ray hookup.
I want you all to also acknowledge that he says 7:15, 7:30 because he knows about colored people time and how that relates to his screenings.
Look, I'm not making any more excuses. Like, it starts when it starts. It's just like we go by the drum, we go by like when Leroy shows up, that's when we got the hookup. We're always waiting for a cable. We're always waiting for something. So people get used to that.
Black, he told you.
But we will have fun. And Tanya is going to be coming. She's a super huge Prince fan. Tanya Pendleton. So she's going to bring some surprises. And she met Prince and talked to Prince. So we're going to have fun at the Bank Buildings, 3750 Lancaster Avenue. And it's pay what you want. Hopefully it's money that folds. Somebody actually brought change last month.
Really?
I used the change later, but at the time I was like, that's a little trifling. But that's how much fun we have at the event, and we're going to show Graffiti Bridge. And if you haven't seen it before, it even deserves a new context. Like you may have when it first came out, that sucked, but now in its proper context, which we're going to provide.
Well, I will say, as someone who is a go down swinging fan of Under the Cherry Moon, I will not disparage Graffiti Bridge because I know some people who are like, Under the Cherry Moon is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And I'm like, how can you say that with the cinematography and the music?
Yeah, I know.
The acting was horrendous.
You probably turn the audio down on Under the Cherry Moon and play Rainbow Children. Just so you can imagine what the world would have been like.
People who listen to the show on a regular basis know how much I fight for the album Rainbow Children and for the film.
He probably made a movie somewhere. You might want to lobby to go over and go through the vault. He probably has a Rainbow Children movie.
I would love it. I think it should be a stage play. But
there is a Rainbow Children movie. Kevin Smith directed.
That's right. Yes.
So anyway, but it's a making of like the reaction to the thing. So he documented everything. We got to get into the vaults. But for tonight, 7:15, we're going to re-examine Graffiti Bridge, and we're going to play an interview with the cinematographer of Graffiti Bridge about working with Prince on the movie and what the intentions were and how much fun it was. So pay what you want, 7:15, 3750 Lancaster, and happy birthday to Bill Tucker.
Yes. Happy birthday, Bill. And I was going to say, you've always been so good to us here at the station, bringing us goodies and treats and just your overall positive presence. So very, very happy birthday to you. And that is all the time we have, Mike D.
Yeah. I'm on my way to Utah. So hopefully I'll be able to call in next week. But if not, I'll have lots of cool information for you.
I was going to say, and we were supposed to hook up with Tracy Heather Strain, who is the filmmaker of the documentary Sighted Eyes, Feeling Heart, which is going to air on PBS American Master Series on January 19th. Regrettably, she was delayed on her flight today, so we won't be able to speak to her, but we want to let everybody know that's coming on, so look for that in your guide and check it out. It took 20 years to make. And there are interviews with Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, Harry Belafonte, Glenn Turman, Louis Gossett Jr., talking about this incredible woman who died way too young, part of the activist movement, and gave us the classic A Raisin in the Sun, but was so involved in trying to liberate Black folks during a time of incredible hardship. So make sure you look for that. January 19th, PBS American Masters, the documentary on Lorraine Hansberry, Sighted Eyes, Feeling Heart. And we're also going to be speaking next week to Peter Nix, who is the filmmaker of The Force, which goes deep into the long-troubled Oakland Police Department as it struggles to confront federal demands for reform.
So it's on, so Martin Luther King Day, also check on MLK Day, your TCM schedule, because that's when they show all the Black movies now. They don't wait. They use February for Oscars. So all the Black movies that ever existed that Turner Classic Movies owns, they put on Martin Luther King Day. And shout out to Wrinkle in Time. That's the next one. So, we're already there.
Lots of revolution happening on screen.
Well, you go where the money is. But the thing is, it may go away, or people will walk away feeling exploited. Like, hey, we made all this money for you. So like take some of it and buy your own seeds, plant your own garden, invest in your own people, make your own film. There's no excuse really at this point. You can tell your own stories
with your iPhone
and profit. Except for me, I spend too much time on my creativity and get 2 likes. See, the police are coming.
You know what? Stop. Okay. So we got to get out of here. Brother Shamari is going to be on the air with you next. So really? Keep your dial locked here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM.
I need to charge $7 and then you'll get more likes.
Oh, stop it. And with that, we'll talk to you next week. Everybody stay safe and warm this weekend. The weather's going to change drastically tomorrow. Be prepared. Take care.